Hi guys, after 3 successful sessions of the HSBC Lighthouse series, we're back with another episode to help you learn, upskill, and grow. Now, there are some people who emit natural magnetism and are able to influence the people around them without even being in a leadership position. And we secretly wish to influence as well. Today's session is about breaking down all those small facets about how to influence at work the right way. My name is Varun, and I'm an entrepreneur, speaker, and an author. Welcome to the 4th episode of the HSBC Lighthouse series. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to influence at work. To talk to us about this, we have Mr. Ashok Ramachandran. Ashok is the CEO and the president of Schindler India. He's worked across Malaysia, India, and Vietnam, and is a motivational speaker and an immense influence in the corporate space. Ashok, welcome to the HSBC Lighthouse series.
Thank you, Varun, and good evening to everyone. I'm really excited to be here, speaking to all of you. Yeah.
And we're really happy and excited to have you here as well, Ashok. Ashok, so, I've been speaking to you on the last few weeks and your journey has been very interesting. I would really want our viewers to know, a little bit about your journey, but more than that, I even want them to know a little bit that's something, that usually people don't know about you. So could you tell us a little bit about your journey and also something that not a lot of people know about you?
Okay, sure. I think what I will do is I will first talk about something that people may not know about me or may probably not even guess, this could be something that I would have as a skill. Firstly, I'm a trained classical singer. I was trained for about 15 years. I have been giving a lot of performances. It started off as a typical thing, as a skill, but it's one of the biggest ways I've been using to stay myself calm, focused, amidst all the hustle and bustle that goes around me. So, but overall, Varun, I've had a very interesting journey, in fact. It's been bit of a roller coaster ride, but whenever people ask me to introduce myself, this is how I introduce. I say that leadership with love is a quote that defines me as a person. My goal in life is to create an army of leaders who can go on to achieve their personal and professional success. And by the way, I happen to be the CEO and president of Schindler India. The reason is I strongly believe that our title or what we do doesn't define us. It's how we treat people and how we engage with them and how we do things is what inspires and engages with people. And the titles can be lost anytime. But what remains is the relationship that you have developed with people over the years. I was born in a very typical, lower middle class family. Grew up with a lot of insecurities and a lack of confidence as a child. I wasn't very strong academically. Had multiple failures in school and in college as well, which continued for a while. Very competitive environment around me. And especially, I had a very successful older sister. And I'm sure many of you who have siblings who are very successful, it gets very difficult. A lot of comparisons gets inevitable. I wasn't good enough to enter any of the top league colleges. And multiple failures also made me ineligible for campus placements. So, I was not one of those people who was able to get into a good company as well. But, from my experience, I started by, so after that, of course, I went overseas. I started working in Schindler after my master's. I started in various roles I did across Australia, Vietnam, Malaysia, and now in India. I just want to share with everyone 3 takeaways from my journey. The first one is about building strong network. Across age groups and culture, I was able to create a strong network and put myself out there to help people. Since I had a lot of insecurities in mind as a child, I knew that I had to prove to myself that I was worthy. I never shied away from walking to a senior management's office. I initiated discussions to be part of their departmental challenges. Many people hated my confidence and some loved it. One opportunity given to me, I made a big success out of it. It was one particular director who gave me a project that I worked on, which became a huge success. And then suddenly everyone started talking about me and more projects came my way. And then there was a lot of talk, hey, this guy is really doing a great job. I think we should move him further up. And I was in a head office role. I often tell people that if you're in a head office role, it's a fantastic opportunity to network and connect with the whole organization because you touch everyone. And you have an opportunity to touch everyone if you can. So that was the first takeaway, was building a strong network. The second thing I learned from my experiences leading teams. So when I joined Schindler at a very late age, 26 I started, and 29 I became the general manager, which is, again, I was the youngest general manager at that time in Queensland. There I picked up this thing called, you first become a colleague and then a boss, because almost everyone reporting to me was at least 10, 15, 20 years older than me. And I had to make sure that, as a relatively inexperienced and younger person, I can succeed in that role. And I wanted to make sure that I'm emotionally connected with my people. So I initiated a lot of monthly one-on-one conversations about personal development. I got to know them outside work. I got to know their families. I have a regular habit of writing personal letters to employees' families once a year. And depending on the country, I would choose the right occasion, Christmas in Australia or Vietnamese New Year, Malaysian New Year. In India, it could be, again, any typical festivals and stuff. Many a times I invite my management team home to get to know their families and connect with them. I've always believed in having a dream for each member of my team. How do I see their career progressing with my leadership, and how do I support them to achieve their dreams? My mantra with me leading people is reprimanding in private and always praising in public. I never hesitated to share genuine praises about my team to my boss, copying them on emails. So my team gets very excited about it. And these are small things I did, which made everyone feel like he's my colleague, he's not my boss. Lastly, my favorite takeaway is what I call as crazy hiring. I've had multiple examples of this, but I've always believed that it's about taking bold bets on people. And not always the best people are applying for jobs. Not always. Sometimes they are very well taken care of by existing organizations. So you really have to be out there, network with people, get to know them through unconventional channels. You would hear me picking up conversations anywhere, whether I'm in a flight, train, networking event. Like one example I remember is in Vietnam. There was a person who was an administrator. I found that person extremely talented. We quickly moved the person up to a customer experience manager and then a talent manager. And today, finally, the person is heading the HR of one of the Schindler operations globally. These are one of the many examples, but it only happens because you're looking out for talents actively and I truly believe that it's not just HR's responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility to be hiring people. I think if anyone wants to work on their influencing skills, it's important for them to be vulnerable and share their success and failures, like just I did now. Nothing connects more than stories. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, Varun, that we all have our stories of successes and failures. So, that's how overall I look at things. And later in the session, I will maybe share some more tips, how I managed to ace key management positions without an actual interview with a very key decision maker, just through the impression that I left on him.
Some golden nuggets of wisdom there, Ashok. My personal two favorites was be a colleague before you can be a boss, And the second, write letters of gratitude to your friends, family, and co-workers. I think that's something that we should all learn from you. Also, guys, there's an inside story that not a lot of you may know, but Ashok got the top job at Schindler India through a cab ride that took about 15 to 20 minutes, which we're going to learn more about because he's promised us to tell us more about that at the end of the session. Ashok, you mentioned corporate storytelling. That seems to be like the buzzword around. Everybody seems to be talking about it. What, according to you, is corporate storytelling, and how can our viewers, inculcate corporate storytelling?
See, it's a very important question, and I strongly believe in this. See, the funda is simple in my head. The people are brands. This is an era where people connect with brands more stronger, and corporate storytelling that everyone must explore from a branding perspective. You can't influence people without connecting with people at an emotional level. If you think about it, there's so much of ads released by many corporates as well. But when they talk about people, we connect with them immediately. This is mainly because people follow people and they connect with real humans and not just the commercial brand. So why do you think people idolize companies like Apple or Tesla or even anything, right? I mean, any big brands, you think about it, mainly because of the people that are leading them, and they're able to connect with the masses. People connect with people, hence more, and brands can show their emotion through the people, through the leaders, through the employees, through the culture that the company wants to drive. And this is where I think storytelling can be very inspirational. And like I said, we all have a story, and it can resonate and touch with everyone. And even if even you don't have to be necessarily like a top employee or senior person in the company. You can share your stories at any opportunity. And whenever we get an opportunity, for example, there could be an all hands meeting in the company where certain people are encouraged to speak up. You could share your story in a public forum or use social media to connect and share your stories. This will really help in influencing as well.
Ashok, while I totally agree with the entire concept of corporate storytelling that you spoke about, we particularly have a lot of conditioning, right? To be able to open up and talk about ourselves, and talk about our achievements, maybe even talk about our vulnerabilities. I remember reading a meme where where it said that that natural urge to not share anything about yourself because of nazar. So how do you overcome that conditioning to be able to speak about yourself, probably even your achievements, your vulnerabilities? How does one break that conditioning?
So any conditioning happens because of our environment, from where we are. In fact, Indra Nui talks about it once, that we are all a product of our upbringing, of the environment we are and the exposures we get. So it's a very pertinent question connected to that. I think everything stems from the right kind of mentoring. Mentoring can really help to break such kind of barriers of conditioning. We've been taught not to ask questions. We've been not to challenge authority, not to speak up, stay submissive, listen. It's the power dynamics that makes them conscious or timid. Having a mentor who guides you at various levels, professional and personal, is something really impactful. I've always followed it in my life. I've been very lucky, in fact, to have some fantastic mentors. I have a little story to share. In fact, when I got the position in Australia as a general manager for Queensland, as I said, I was 29. I wasn't married then, didn't have family at all. My mentor took the responsibility of a father. And I still remember that, lovely winter evening in Sydney, when he took me to a nice restaurant to treat me as a celebration party. And after that, we had a long walk on the Sydney Harbour and the art gallery, where he was sharing life stories to me about how I will face challenges in life as a corporate leader. How do I manage people? How do I face these challenges? And, this was impeccable. I still remember the story, which happened like 13 years ago. I think one can't go seeking for mentors with a selfish motive. It has to be natural. It has to be both ways. Mentors can be seniors at work from other departments. I normally don't prefer your immediate boss to be your mentor because there could be a conflict of interest. Or you could be tagging on to your friend's dad, who could be a senior person, or your dad's colleagues, or your mom's colleagues, or your relatives, or through social media. You can connect with people. Initially you connect with them, get to know each other, actively build a network, and then you speak about tangible stuff that you want to ask them. but don't connect with people just to get something out of them, because it doesn't work like that. And for me, mentor-mentees have to be honest, open, transparent, and not just about getting their help to find a job. So that's my 2 bits.
But Ashok, how does one reach out to these mentors? And more importantly, most people are busy and you don't even know if they have the time to mentor you. So A, how does one reach out to their mentors? And B, how do you convince them to be your mentor?
This is not easy, right? It's been evolving. It's been evolving for sure. But like I mentioned, one of the simplest way you can do that is by social media, connecting with people, through social media. But even when you reach out to people through social media, one thing I would say is, please do not just send random hi, hello messages. You should make sure that you add some value, do research about them, get to know that person a little bit, and then you provide, you mention things that even they would like to really get to, get some value from. That's very, very crucial. I would say it's a simple rule. We should follow this.
Totally agree with that, Ashok. Find the right mentor and it'll help you break your conditioning and will also help you get way better at influencing at the workplace. Ashok, when we were speaking last week, you mentioned that you have a technique called first things first technique to be able to influence the right way at the workplace. Could you tell our viewers more about what is the first things first technique?
With influencing, first things first, even before you start thinking about influencing, is communication skills. And when I ask you what is communication, most people think about it as speaking. But I think listening is as important, if not probably more important than speaking. And the power of silence is also very powerful communication as well. So it's about knowing where to use silence, for example. And when I'm talking about listening, it's about listening to answer. It's about listening to understand and then answer. And to me, your body language, your tone of voice, the way you put yourself out there, everything that, to me is communication. It's not just about what you say, but how you say it and how you can get the message across to them. If one has to influence, communication skills is your biggest insurance policy. And I don't mean like you need to be a Shakespeare in English with fluent, impeccable language and vocabulary and all that, right? It's about being able to have a proper conversation. And one technique I use, Varun, which I can share with all the viewers, is the power of 3. It's in fact very popular in social media right now, especially Instagram, but I've been using it for many, many years. They often say that, if you want to make a point, you can say that, hey, 3 things I want to share with you all is 1, 2, 3. Like I give an example, right? What are the 3 ways I used to lose weight? I made sure, number 1, I made sure that I had a calorie deficit diet with the proper diet plan. Number 2, I had a great exercise regime. And number 3 is ensuring good quality sleep. So I used the power of 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the opposite person also understands very well. You can use it to summarize points in a meeting as well. And I think just take baby steps, talk to seniors, reach out to them, make yourself visible through these productive pursuits, and you can add value. It's as simple as that. The simplest way also I suggest is to join Toastmasters. It's one of my favorite places to, in a very non-judgmental environment, you can practice communication skills and you can share your stories as well. It's a great place. So I would strongly suggest people who don't know about Toastmasters, check it out on internet. There's one probably in your local area.
Totally agree with that, Ashok. I think communication skill is not just important for influencing, but it's important for succeeding at any sort of workplace. And I loved your golden nuggets on the fact that you should use the power of 3 in order to be able to communicate well and join probably a Toastmasters club, because that will help you not only with your communication skills, but also your public speaking skills as well. Now, Ashok, all of this is fine, but this usually works with extroverts. What about introverts, right? Who hate probably, going up and speaking to people, or, probably even showing up at events. How does one deal with communication skills when one is an introvert?
For introverts, it's definitely challenging, right? Because you innately fear public speaking.
Yeah.
And Unfortunately, I'm not going to give you a silver bullet answer. It's going to be purely by practice. And one technique I started off using is whenever you enter a room, just speak to the first person that you see. Prepare a set of questions. Standard questions you can prepare. Whenever you see someone new, you can have standard questions. You can ask them these standard questions, and that can be a great conversation starter. It's a very simple way you can start practicing. Now, the biggest fear we have also as introverts is knowledge. If you have knowledge, you can pick up conversations with people. So you should be reading a lot, speaking to a lot of people, learning a lot of subjects, having general knowledge about a few things. So you can use those as conversation starters. And the more and more you practice, 1 leads to 3 conversations, 3 leads to 9 conversations, exponentially helps you become more and more, comfortable with everything. That's what I suggest.
Totally agree with that, Ashok. And I think my take on how introverts can get over their fear of communication is public speaking. Someone said that the 2 of the greatest fears man has is the fear of death and the fear of public speaking. Now, in order to overcome the fear of public speaking, try to find out where actually that fear is coming from. Is that fear coming from a fear of judgment, or is that fear coming from a fear, a sense of perfection, where you want your speech to be so good that you want to be loved by everyone? If you can figure out where that fear is coming from, then you'll be able to conquer that fear in a much more easier way. Most of that fear comes from our childhood, where probably a small incident in your childhood could have triggered the fear of public speaking, or probably even the fear of communication. So if you can conquer that fear, then I think communication and public speaking will be just a piece of cake. Moving on, Ashok, 2 things that I think everybody in the audience wants to learn from you, and also get to know about your thoughts about them about personal branding and networking. This is something that you seem to have aced. So could you tell us more about what is your take on personal branding and networking?
Great question. My favorite question as well. Whenever I ask people, do you have a personal brand manager or marketing manager? We know the obvious answer. No, we don't. That means that you are your own brand manager. You are a brand, whether you like it or not. In fact, I would like every one of the people watching us to think about, do they know what is their personal brand? How do you find out what is your personal brand? The simplest way I do is, ask people around you, what are the 2 or 3 adjectives or the words they use to describe you? And based on that, you would know what is the personal brand. So for example, maybe they'll say Varun, smart, intelligent, go-getter, gets things happening. So that becomes your personal brand. And then according to your career ambitions, you can decide, is this personal brand going to help me reach my goals and objectives? If not, then you need to start working on your personal brand. And there is this incident that you spoke about, where I met a global head for 15 minutes in a cab drive, which led a very strong impression on him, which helped me get my job as my first CEO job, as a Vietnam CEO. That was actually through this personal branding exercise that I did many, many years ago. This is a simple example of what can it help you if you can ace personal branding and networking.
So Ashok, this is this true story, right? That at the age of 31, you became the CEO, and that was through what you convinced the senior leadership in a 20-minute cab ride. Am I correct?
Yes.
Could you tell us exactly what happened in the cab ride? Because I'm sure everybody would want to know the secret of how to convince someone to give them the CEO position in a 20-minute cab ride.
See, what happened that day, when I picked up and I was driving him back to office from the airport, is I was conversing with him. I was conversing with a lot of passion, with a lot of energy. I was not scared to challenge him about certain things that the company could do better. At the same time, I was also sharing with him what I'm doing and how I'm able to contribute 1 or 2 things positively to the company. He asked me a question like, what is your key observation about what we're doing here? And I was able to give him some key observations and how we can improve certain things. I think he was flabbergasted that I had so much of confidence. And this happened when I was 26. Yeah, 26.
Wow.
Right? I think he liked the confidence. He liked that somebody was challenging him, and he was like a super boss at that time, 3 levels, 4 levels above me. And I was not scared. So I think all of this gave him this very strong impression. And then 5 years later, when I was to be interviewed for the Vietnam CEO's role, he just called HR and said, I don't think I need to interview him. Just give him the job. I think he'll do very well. I met him 5 years ago in a car drive. Till date, he remembers that, So that's the power of personal branding.
So guys, there you go. The power of personal branding, corporate storytelling, and influencing at the workplace. You can rise up the corporate ladder and you'll be surprised how soon you can do that. Now, Ashok, networking is a very important aspect, not just in the corporate world, but also for entrepreneurship, for literally any field, right? What are your thoughts on networking, especially when it comes to influencing at work and personal branding?
So I think the most important thing is not to be on the face. It irritates people. It has to be subtle. And most important thing, it is two-way street, especially if you're starting out. See, for example, today I'm CEO of a company. It may be easier for me to connect with anyone and network. But when I started off, it wasn't so easy. So I always have to find ways of creating value and making sure that I kind of have like a board of advisors, few people from around who can be part of like a personal and professional space, sharing with me what I can learn and what I should be learning. And this is what I strongly recommend.
Board of advisors, have a board of advisors for yourself so that you can have enough people advising you on what to do, what to read, probably what to watch, and how to improve yourself. I think that's a phenomenal suggestion. Ashok, there is something that you mentioned when we were speaking about personal branding last week. You said that there is a concept called the executive presence. Could you tell us more about what executive presence is and how does it relate to influencing at the workplace?
See, executive presence, or EP, they call it these days, is getting very, very popular. There's a lot of good books as well about it. And if you think about executive presence, it is nothing but when you walk into a room of strangers, what is the aura that you carry? And for me, I always remember my school principal or my headmistress when they walk towards you, the kind of aura, the display. You really know that this is the boss, this is the headmistress, this is the principal. And to me, it's about how you carry yourself, the way you take care of yourself. Like for me, for example, it started off with 2 years ago when COVID started. I worked on myself, especially on my weight transformation. I used to weigh like 95 kilos back then. I worked very, very hard, especially being a foodie was very difficult. I brought my weight down to 73 kilos. And it was about mentally deciding that I really want to make a change in the way I look. Today, I'm confident to make videos and put myself out there in Instagram Reels or YouTube videos and stuff because of the fact that I can look presentable. I mean, this is not about looking like a Milind Soman or a top star or something, but how can you give respect to yourself and your body? And that's where it starts from. It's about the aspiration to make yourself confident and comfortable. Today, this fitness has become a way of life. I'm also into bodybuilding as well, and I've got an opportunity to become a model. I did ramp walks and fashion shows, and I'm going to be shooting in fact very soon for a brand as well. So these are subtle things that can happen in your life. So you need to come across as a leader and not as a manager if you really want to influence on people. And of course, confidence also comes from knowledge, which is coming from reading books and getting to talk to smart people, understanding a lot of topics and content and context. Confidence develops from forcing yourself to talk to strangers in a party, making new friends. Along with that, I think what has really helped me, Varun, personally, is being mindful. Mindfulness is something, again, I practiced during COVID as a big thing. It's been life-changing for me. I often believe that we all have to tap into the spiritual side of us, and mindfulness is a starting point of that. Simple ways of practicing mindfulness is don't watch anything when you're eating. Don't try and drink a sip of water or a glass of water, for example, for 2 minutes. Just focus, get the mindfulness action happening. These are small things that you can do that really helps to increase your executive presence and transforms you as a person, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Ashok, thank you so much for all of these suggestions. I think this has been one of the best sessions we've had so far at the HSBC Lighthouse. And honestly, there's so much that I learned today, and I'm pretty sure our viewers learned today as well. not just about influencing at the work, but also how to have leadership qualities. And it was also a very enjoyable session because you made it so simple. So guys, everybody who's watching, I hope you had a great session. In this session, we learned about how to influence at the workplace, and we learned about corporate storytelling. We learned about role modeling. We learned about personal branding and networking. We learned about executive presence. And before we let Ashok go, we're going to do a quick rapid fire session. We're going to ask Ashok a few questions about his taste and about his likes and dislikes. And Ashok, are you ready? You can't think for this one.
Okay. Let's do it.
Let's go, Ashok. So, one book that has helped you increase your productivity.
It's a book called The $1 Trillion Coach. It's about an American mentor. He used to be a football coach as well. He was a coach, also mentor for many of the Silicon Valley top honchos. And it's a beautiful book that talks about how people, you can lead with love. You can lead people with love. And that's been the best productivity book for me as a leader, in fact.
One podcast that you'd recommend?
Well, my life changed after Ranveer's podcast with me, Ranveer Allahabadia's podcast. So I strongly believe he brings immense value in his podcast. So for sure, it's Beer Biceps channel.
The most inspiring TED Talk that you've seen?
Most inspiring TED Talk. There's one, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's called Inside the Mind of a Master Procrastinator.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. So that's one of my top ones, apart from many others. This really helped me to understand psychology of, why people procrastinate and how do we handle it and stuff. So I, again, strongly recommend people.
One movie that changed your life?
Always, it's A Pursuit of My Happiness. That's for me a life-changing movie. It's almost like a personal story that I can relate with. So for sure, I think Will Smith was outstanding.
Your mantra for success?
My mantra for success, my tagline, which is keep chasing obscene success. Keep chasing obscene success is nothing but how do I do things every day, whatever I do, even if I'm doing a small assignment, project, or initiative, can I do it in a way that it inspires awe among people and amongst me? And that's where the tagline came from. So everyone should keep chasing obscene success.
One secret superpower you wish you had?
To read other people's mind. I would love that.
I totally agree with that. One life hack to make a good impression at work?
I think one biggest life hack I want everyone to also practice is seeking regular feedback. We all get so self-obsessed and we think that we are amazing. So we never ask for feedback. I still do it even as a CEO every month. So I would say, please go and seek regular feedback.
Your current role model in your industry?
My ex-boss, Fernando Xavier, who was the first managing director that I worked with in Schindler, Australia, who really groomed me and made me what I am today as a people-focused CEO.
Your go-to motivational quote?
Be the change that you want to be, or you want to see.
Okay, last question, I promise. A general life hack that you'd like to share with us?
Okay, I do this every day and I would love to share this with everyone. So whenever I wake up, I give a big smile to myself. And I say it out loudly that I am super happy today. I'm going to have a fantastic day. And I'm going to have a happy and healthy day as well. I say it with a big smile. And I'm not sure if you have realized, Varun, when we smile, it flows into your body. Of course, that's why people even practice laughing therapy, right? So that's something, the simplest life hack.
Thank you so much for that wonderful rapid fire session, Ashok. We're just going to quickly check if you have any questions from the audience. Guys, do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, no questions from the audience. Okay, Ashok, I would like to thank you so much for this session. It's been one of the most insightful sessions we've had. And thank you so much for teaching us about so many different things in such a simple way. And I really hope that we can learn from you more in the future. Thanks once again for being with us at the HSBC Lighthouse series.
Thank you, Varun, and thank you, HSBC, and thank you, audience, for this wonderful engagement.
Thank you everyone for joining us, and thanks so much for giving us your time. I hope you enjoyed this session, and we hope to see you again soon. Thanks once again for joining us.